The day I announced my retirement from the team, the entire internet celebrated. Only my boyfriend's childhood friend, who claims she can see the truth in smoke, was thrown into a panic. She dropped all her cases and searched for me across the globe, but I had already severed all ties, wanting nothing more than to live a life of idle leisure. In my past life, I was a well-known head of the major crimes unit, yet she, a detective, always managed to find the clues before I did. Unwilling to accept this, I pulled several all-nighters to identify a suspect in a serial murder case. But when I rushed to the scene, I found my childhood friend lighting a wisp of incense over the new victim's body. After taking a light inhale, she raised her hand and pointed out the killer hiding in the crowd. After this case, her reputation soared, yet I was vilified and condemned across the entire internet, accused of delaying the investigation and causing the deaths of subsequent victims. Under immense psychological pressure, I accidentally fell down the stairs and died. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the serial killer was arrested. Captain, a new body has been discovered in the suburbs. The serial killer is active again. The familiar voice snapped me out of my daze. Looking down at the completed suspect sketch in my hands, I was stunned to realize I had been reborn. My colleague beside me was still urgently briefing the details of the case. A jolt of adrenaline shot through me. I snapped my head up to look at the wall clock. We had half an hour before we would have arrived at the crime scene. In my past life, my breath hitched. I immediately led the team out. The police car raced to the scene. The moment we arrived, I saw Song Xiao, holding her incense burner, calmly approaching the victim. I gritted my teeth and gave the order immediately. Stop, Song Xiao, now. My colleague looked at me with confusion, but I had no way to explain. It was because in a past life, as a detective, Song Xiao always managed to reach the same conclusion as me. In the strangest way, to prove myself, my colleagues and I went through hell and high water to finally identify a suspect in a serial murder case. Upon arriving at the scene, I saw Song Xiao seated before the victim, with a light touch to the incense burner. A wisp of blue smoke instantly coiled in the air, forming an eerie mist. She then took a gentle inhale, murmuring incantations under her breath. Completely baffled, I was about to interrupt her when she raised her hand and pointed directly at the murderer who had been hiding in the crowd. The onlookers had assumed Song Xiao was merely putting on a mystical show, but the sight of the accused murderer's furious and flustered expression left them all rooted to the spot in shock. I rushed forward and subdued the killer, who was ready to go down fighting. To my surprise, instead of praise, my intervention was met with a torrent of skepticism. The victim's family channeled all their grief and rage over their loss directly at me. How could your major crimes unit take so long when this person caught the killer so easily? You only showed up at the very last second. If you had solved the case sooner, my child would still be alive. I want you to pay with your life. The family's heart-wrenching sobs moved everyone present, while online, a tidal wave of accusations was directed squarely at me. To quell the public's fury, I was just about to disclose our entire case file. To my surprise, Song Xiao beat me to it. She publicly claimed to possess the ability to discern injustice through smoke. With just a single, contemplative puff, she could perceive the grievances of the deceased. The crowd gasped in astonishment, seeing the heated discussion she had ignited. Song Xiao then, with clear malice, redirected the firestorm toward me. Please don't give Officer Shen a hard time. She doesn't have my unique abilities, so it's understandable that the investigation is progressing slowly. It's a real shame, though. On my way here, I saw them playing by the roadside. If they had arrived just a bit sooner, perhaps one victim could have been spared. Her words only served to stoke the crowd's anger further. I was left speechless, branded in their eyes as a corrupt, negligent cop. Day after day, people even showed up at the police station entrance with funeral wreaths, wailing and making a scene. In the end, overwhelmed by the pressure, I missed a step and tumbled down the stairs. The thought sent a violent shiver through me, as if the agony of my death in a past life had washed over me once more. I gritted my teeth. Since I've been given a second chance, this time I'm determined to uncover the truth and stop everything from happening. Although confused, my colleagues immediately carried out my order, taking a few quick strides to block Song Xiao's path. I then stepped forward and apprehended the killer, who had been blending into the crowd of onlookers. Song Xiao stared at me in shock, but before he could say a word, I cut him off. No unauthorized personnel near the crime scene. Xiaoli, you and your team secure and process the scene. Everyone else, fall out. Ignoring Song Xiao's resentful glare, I escorted the suspect back to the station. The people on the road were chattering excitedly. Thank God the team leader ordered Song Xiao to be stopped just now. All our hard work on this case for so long finally paid off. Hearing them say that, I also let out a huge sigh of relief. For 3 whole months, Song Xiao had always solved the case one step ahead of us. This time, I finally got there before her. My good mood lasted all the way to the station, and the moment I walked in, I saw my boyfriend, Su Xing. He was from the public order unit next door, but there he was, sitting at my desk with a face like thunder. Seeing me enter, he asked coldly why I had kept Song Xiao outside the scene today, keeping unauthorized personnel out of a crime scene is standard procedure. I couldn't be bothered with his accusations and escorted the suspect into the interrogation room. Su Xing, however, let out a derisive snort and blocked my path. You just can't stand seeing Xiaoxia succeed, so you're trying to trip her up. Too bad you were a step behind this time. Hearing this, I instinctively tightened my grip on the handcuffs securing the suspect. Watching as Su Xing shoved his phone right in my face, a sudden chill shot up my spine. On her social media account, Song Xiao analyzed the perpetrator's previous crime, clearly detailing the modus operandi and the criminal's profile. It was posted before we even rushed to the scene. My colleagues also came across the online posts one after another, and the entire office fell into a dead silence. I didn't even know when Su Xing had left. When I finally snapped out of it, my hands trembling, I pulled out the case analysis notes I'd been working on and started comparing them, word for word, against the content Song Xiao had posted on social media. My mind went blank with a sudden, deafening buzz. How could this be? Why was Song Xiao's post an exact replica of my own analysis? I strained to recall everything that had happened before. Even if Song Xiaoshan had the uncanny ability to see the truth in a puff of smoke, it's impossible for all her conclusions to match mine word for word. If she were truly that brilliant, how could she only ever be one step ahead of me? I forced myself to stay calm, wondering if there was some detail I had overlooked. But then, a colleague suddenly rushed up to me. Chief, it's bad. There's been a serious explosion in the city center. Hearing about the new case, I immediately put Song Xiao's matter out of my mind and rushed to the scene with my colleagues. The crime scene was on a commercial street. The perpetrator had planted the bomb in a shop's restroom. It was the peak evening hour. The moment the bomb detonated, the scene instantly turned into a pile of rubble. Witnessing this horrific scene, I gritted my teeth and shouted for all my colleagues to start rescuing people immediately. By the time everything settled down, it was already deep into the night. Looking at my exhausted colleagues, I rubbed my temples, assigned the tasks for the next day, and told them to go home and rest. I stayed behind alone, gazing at the wreckage before me as I pieced together the threads of this case. Just as I instinctively pulled out my notebook to take notes, I suddenly remembered the content of Song Xiao's message from earlier today. After a moment's thought, I put the notebook away, picked up a stick from the ground, and started idly scratching lines in the dirt. I spent the whole night on a stakeout, and I finally figured out what this case was all about. My phone was dead. I raced frantically back to the station, and the moment I burst through the door, I shouted excitedly, I know who's behind yesterday's bombing. Get a few people and come with me to make the arrest. Yet, no one in the office moved. Shelley looked at me with a hesitant expression and said, Team leader, the bomber was apprehended this morning. I was stunned. My colleagues quickly pulled up a video to show me. In the video, Song Xiao sneaked into the hospital morgue in the early hours of the morning, started a live stream, and performed a ritual of lighting a cigarette to seek justice for the victim. Amidst the swirling smoke, Song Xiao chanted for a moment before revealing to the entire live audience that the murderer was the fried rice vendor from the commercial street. The late-night morgue setting, the eerie ritual, and the shocking truth about the bombing case made for an explosive live stream that instantly captivated viewers across the internet, sending Song Xiao skyrocketing. When police, alerted by viewers, arrived at the suspect's home, they indeed found materials for homemade explosives and a high-value insurance policy. My hands trembling, I kept dragging the video's progress bar back, obsessively watching Song Xiao's deduction after the ritual over and over, my body shuddering uncontrollably. That deduction was exactly the same as what I had been thinking. Just as I was utterly perplexed, the video on my phone finished playing and automatically switched to a live stream. After the killer's identity was confirmed, Song Xiao's fame skyrocketed. A swarm of reporters descended on her home, clamoring for an interview. On the live stream, Song Xiao said with a smile, I have indeed inherited the ability to read injustice through smoke, allowing me to see the grievances of the deceased from their final moments. As soon as she said this, the live chat was instantly flooded with comments. With such an incredible ability, no wonder she always managed to solve the cases before the police. I didn't believe it when I watched the live stream yesterday, but I never imagined it was actually real. It's amazing. The barrage chat was buzzing with excitement, and in no time, they were practically worshipping Song Xiao like a deity. Seeing the barrage, the reporter curiously asked Song Xiao, with such a remarkable ability, why did you choose to become a private detective instead of joining the police force? Your talents would have much better prospects there. At the reporter's question, Song Xiao suddenly lowered her head, looking wronged. I did consider joining the force right after graduation, but when Officer Shen, who used to discuss cases with me all the time, heard about my plans, he suddenly gave me a stern reprimand. He said my methods of solving cases were nothing but second-rate parlor tricks. As she spoke, she forced a brave smile. This is fine too. I'm still walking firmly on the path of giving a voice to the deceased. The moment those words were spoken, they instantly caused a huge uproar. The officer Shen she mentioned, it couldn't be Shen Xiangyan, could it? The one who was the famous head of the major crimes unit before. I just looked into it, and it seems like ever since Song Xiao became an independent detective, Officer Shen hasn't solved a single major case. Oh my god, have I just stumbled upon some huge secret? Was it really just a simple case discussion? I think Shen Xiangyan has been relying on Xiaoxiao's skills to solve cases all along. She's afraid Xiaoxiao will steal her thunder after joining the police force, so she's deliberately holding her back. How shameless! A single stone stirred up 1,000 waves. The livestream chat was instantly flooded with praise for Song Xiao and insults directed at me. A chill ran through my body. I could hardly believe my ears. Before Song Xiao entered the profession, Su Sheng often urged me to mentor her, which is how I initially got to know her. When did I ever criticize her or stop her from joining the police force? I forced myself to stay calm, gritted my teeth, and was ready to storm over to Song Jiao's house to confront her face to face. But the moment I stood up, a slap came flying at me, knocking me hard to the ground. Su Sheng glared at me viciously, pointed a finger in my face, and began to berate me. I asked you to look out for Xiaoxiao, but I never imagined you'd treat her like this behind my back, stealing her deductions and pressuring her to stay away from the station. You're truly despicable. I glared at him fiercely, my hand pressed against my swollen cheek. The situation was still unclear, yet he'd laid hands on me based solely on Song Jiao's words. I stood up, ready to retaliate, when a sharp shout suddenly came from outside the door. Enough. Director Xing came in, gave us a cold look, and then called me into his office to ask about what Song Xiao had said today. I straightened my back. I have absolutely no knowledge of what she said, and I didn't do it. Director Xing looked at me and rubbed his temples. Do you really think people will just believe you if you say you didn't do it? Listen, Song Xiao will be coming to the bureau shortly to give her statement, no matter what. You have to explain this situation clearly in front of the reporters, or your entire political career will be ruined. Seeing the bureau chief's earnest and concerned expression, I had no choice but to grit my teeth and agree. When Song Xiao arrived at the police station, Director Xing grabbed my arm and hurried forward to meet him. He looked at the reporters and the crowd of onlookers behind Song Xiao and said with a smile, Young Shen here has something to say. Since everyone's gathered, let's consider you all witnesses. Hearing this, Song Xiao looked at me with a face full of schadenfreude. Sister Xiangyan, what happened to your face? Weren't you going to say something? How did you even manage to get your face all swollen? Seeing Song Xiao looking so smug, I instantly forgot everything Director Xing had just told me. I stared at her coldly and said, It's nothing, I just wanted to ask you. The culprit in this bombing case clearly snuck into the shop in the middle of the night to plant the bomb, so how exactly did you manage to find them with your so-called magical cigarette lighting method for uncovering injustice? Song Jiao's expression changed. Su Sheng, standing beside her, looked like he wanted to rush forward and curse at me again upon seeing this, but Song Xiao blocked him, stepping in front. Her eyes welled up with tears. I thought you came, Sister Xiangyan, to apologize for what happened before. I didn't expect you to be here to interrogate me. Fine, I'll tell you. I learned from one of the corpses that he passed by the scene the night before last and saw the fried rice vendor acting suspiciously there. It felt like someone had suddenly grabbed me by the throat. How could that be? I only stumbled upon the fact that someone passed by the scene while the killer was planting the bomb last night. I never saw Song Xiao investigating there myself, so how did she know? Could she really have some supernatural ability to see the truth through smoke? But how is that even possible? Seeing me remain silent, everyone began to accuse me, and reporters kept snapping pictures in my direction. Even Director Xing looked at me with disappointment, sighed, and turned to leave. Su Sheng shot me a glare, then put his arm around Song Xiao and walked into the bureau. In an instant, I was left alone on the scene to bear the brunt of everyone's fury. A chill ran through my body. Right at the moment I was utterly perplexed, I looked down and saw what Song Xiao had just dropped. In a panic, I rushed over and picked it up. No wonder her thoughts always aligned with mine. So that's how it was. In that instant, everything suddenly became clear to me. I let out a cold, scornful laugh. Fine, I quit. Let's see if the great Song Xiao, with his mystical smoke-reading tricks, can actually solve this case. The crowd and reporters continued to hurl insults at me. I just smiled, took off my police ID and badge, and held them high above my head. Since you all have such strong objections, effective immediately, I am voluntarily stepping down from my position as head of the Major Crimes Unit. Upon hearing this, the crowd erupted in applause and cheers. I stopped looking at them, turned around, and went back to my office to pack up all my things. Seeing me like this, all my colleagues rushed over to stop me. Team leader, how can you be so impulsive and talk about resigning? What are we supposed to do if you leave? As they spoke, someone went to fetch Director Zheng and Su Sheng, who was accompanying Song Xiao in giving his statement. I quickly stopped them and said with a smile, resigning is a decision I made after careful consideration. I'll report it to the director later, so please don't worry about me. With that, I formally said my goodbyes to everyone and turned to leave. Despite their attempts to persuade me to stay outside, a few people were still waiting. When they saw me actually packing up my things and walking out, they even set off party poppers in celebration. I was unimpressed by the scene, even raising an eyebrow in skepticism. I thought to myself, I'll remember your cheerful faces now. I hope Song Xiao's uncanny ability to see the truth in the smoke can keep you all this happy. I returned home, immediately emailed my resignation letter to the department head to start the offboarding process, packed my bags, and boarded the green train home. I kept my phone off for the entire journey, enveloped in a profound sense of peace I had never known before. After a 20-hour train journey, I finally returned to the small village that raised me. The moment they opened the door and saw me, my parents couldn't hold back their tears. Yet they tried their best to smile and welcome me into the house. That evening, as I ate my mother's cooking and listened to my father talk about the good harvest, my heart was filled with contentment. I spent a few days in the village completely cut off from the outside world. It wasn't until I was chatting with an elderly woman at the village entrance and heard about a horrifying dismemberment case in the city where I worked that I finally remembered to turn my phone on. The moment I did, my phone nearly exploded. I was overwhelmed by a dizzying number of missed calls and messages. I casually opened a message from a close colleague, and that's how I found out that a particularly gruesome dismemberment case had occurred in the city after I left my job. The bureau chief, under pressure, had originally intended to assign me the case, but then he heard from Director Zheng about my resignation. Left with no choice, he promptly contacted Song Xiao, offering him a position as a police consultant, hoping Song Xiao could use his unique methods to identify the culprit as quickly as possible. Song Xiao agreed without hesitation and gleefully posted on a social media platform, "It's an honor to stand shoulder to shoulder with the police force, a dream I've always held. Today, as a specially appointed consultant, that dream finally has a chance to come true." The comments below were all words of encouragement for her. With Xiaoxiao on the case, there's no way it won't be a success. Now that tumor surnamed Shen is gone, Xiaoxiao finally has a chance to shine. The murderers in this city better watch out. The real big boss has arrived. Unfortunately, Song Xiao never saw that comment. She only found out I had already resigned when she rushed to the scene. She panicked instantly, even completely disregarding the victim right in front of her, wanting to go find me first. Though puzzled, the others still advised her to perform the ritual first to find the killer, promising to send someone to retrieve me later. The incense burner and everything else had been prepared for Song Xiao, but as soon as the blue smoke rose, she rolled her eyes back and fainted on the spot. Reading these messages at home, I burst out laughing, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief in my chest that had been pent up for so long. I let out a long sigh, wishing Song Xiao would appear before me right this instant. I really want to ask her properly, before, didn't you claim you could hear the dead and speak for them to right their wrongs? So how come, after I left, you couldn't solve the case? That evening, in my good mood, I wolfed down 2 big bowls of rice. Much to my parents' amusement, they kept saying, "It's so good to have you home. Who knows how much our child has suffered out there." I almost burst into tears when I heard that. After the meal, I received another call from Su Sheng. "Ever since I turned on my phone today, I've lost count of how many calls I've gotten from him. I was about to hang up like I had before, but then I thought of the hilarious scene of Song Xiao fainting on the spot, hesitated for a moment, and answered the call. But the moment the call connected, Sushing on the other end exploded like a lit firecracker. Shen Xiangyan, where have you been? Why haven't you been answering your phone? Do you have any idea? That Xiao was so upset about you quitting that she fainted. She's still in the hospital. I was so angry I almost laughed. For the first half of his rant, I actually held on to a sliver of hope that he, as my boyfriend, might show a shred of concern for my situation. Turns out it was all about Songwan again. Song Xiao and I aren't even related. Why would she have such a huge reaction to me quitting? My indifferent attitude only made Sushing angrier. Of course Xiao is worried about you. Do you think everyone is as heartless as you are? Xiao has already forgiven you for what happened before. Now hurry up, pack your things, and come home. You're a grown adult, yet you're throwing a tantrum like a child. I couldn't be bothered to listen to Sushing vent his anger at me any longer. I just said, I'm not coming back, and immediately wanted to hang up the phone. Sushing roared, if you don't come back, we're through, suit yourself. Ignoring Sushing's furious voice, I hung up the phone thinking of Sushing's attitude just now. I let out a cold laugh. Sushing probably doesn't care whether I go back or not. His overreaction was likely stirred up by Song Xiao behind the scenes. In that case, Song Xiao must be having a really tough time lately. I wonder how long she can keep up her act in the hospital. With these thoughts in mind, I received another call from Director Zhang the next day. Director Zhang tried his best to persuade me to come back. He said, how can you be so stubborn, kid? You quit the moment you said you would. I let out a bitter laugh, playing up my misery. You saw what happened outside the police station, Director. Now I'm being criticized from all sides. How am I supposed to keep doing this job? Director Zhang let out a heavy sigh. I've watched you grow into the head of the Major Crimes Division. No matter what others say, I've always believed in you. I know what happened before broke your spirit, but right now, the victim is still lying in the morgue. He was cut into 20 pieces and dumped in a garbage truck. We still haven't even found all the parts. Son, can you really turn your back on this? My fingernails dug deep into my palms. The oath I swore on graduation day at the police academy echoed in my ears. I genuinely love being a police officer. After a moment's thought, my eyes lit up, and I quickly said to Director Zhang, Director, could you show me the case information now? Hearing this, Director Zhang happily handed over all the materials to me. I studied it for a moment. Just as I was piecing my thoughts together, my phone suddenly vibrated. I opened it, smiled, and said to Director Zhang on the other end of the line, Director, look, Song Xiao has recovered. On the live stream, Song Xiao's face was deathly pale, as if she had truly been seriously ill, yet she forced a brave smile for the camera. I passed out during the last ritual because I was overwhelmed by the intense resentment emanating from the deceased. My body just couldn't handle it at that moment. After hearing her explanation, all the comments in the live stream questioning why the case had been stalled for so long due to her fainting spell completely vanished. The remaining comments were now split between concern for her well-being and curiosity about what the deceased must have endured in life to harbor such powerful resentment. Seeing everyone's eager anticipation, Song Xiao finally began to speak. The deceased said his wife took a hammer and smashed it into his head. He pleaded desperately, but she just wouldn't stop. Even after death, he felt the cleaver hacking at his limbs. He experienced the excruciating pain of each part of his body being severed. Song Jiao's words sent chills down everyone's spine. Once they processed it, the livestream chat instantly transformed into a brigade of armchair detectives. Some kindly called the police, while others rushed straight to the victim's house, determined to catch the cold-blooded and cruel wife. But when they arrived at the deceased's home with the police, they made a shocking discovery. The man had been a lifelong bachelor, living alone for 40 years. He had no wife at all. Those who had gone to the scene posted their findings online, causing an immediate and massive uproar. Netizens were quick to comment, didn't she give a vivid and detailed account of what happened? How come they can't even find the victim's wife? I remember when the body was first discovered, some crime scene photos leaked. The cross-section of the dismembered parts had a wavy pattern. It was clearly done with a chainsaw, so when I heard her mention a cleaver in the livestream, I was completely thrown for a loop. I think she's just making it all up. What kind of magical smoke-reading ability to solve crimes even exists in this world? If that were real, what would we need the police for? Now that's a real, seasoned con artist. She made it sound so convincing. totally playing with everyone's emotions. I let out a derisive snort as I read through these comments. All of Song Zhao's previous deductions have proven accurate, so netizens have developed a kind of blind faith in him. But public opinion online can turn on a dime. The moment you show the slightest crack, they'll abandon you in a heartbeat. I know this all too well. Directors in called again, and this time his tone was grave. Xiangyan, have you seen Song Zhao's livestream? The online attention on this case has exploded beyond anything we imagined. The higher-ups are demanding we solve it within 3 days. We genuinely need your help now. This time, I agreed without a moment's hesitation. After hanging up the phone, I watched Song Zhao's video with a cold stare. This incident made me realize that this cannot be the end of it. Song Zhao must pay the full price. I packed my bags, said goodbye to my tearful parents who were reluctant to see me go, and set off on the journey back. The whole station was overjoyed to see me back, buzzing with excitement as they crowded around, talking non-stop. Only Song Zhao, standing beside Su Xing, glared at me with pure venom. She walked up to me and asked through gritted teeth, testing the waters, "Sister Xiangyan, you've been away for so long, did you find something?" I feigned a look of confusion as I gazed at her. What could I possibly find? I accidentally fell down the mountain when I went back this time, and I've been in a daze ever since. It's only now that I've recovered enough to return to the police force. Hearing my words, Song Zhao's eyes widened, the excitement in them impossible to contain. Really, Sister Xiangyan, you must take good care of yourself. Brother Xing and I have been so worried about you. It's wonderful that you're willing to come back now. I nodded with a smile and agreed, while Su Xing let out a soft, dismissive snort beside me. I ignored him and immediately threw myself into the work. For 2 full days, I combed through everything from the victim's body to the crime scene, and finally, I uncovered the truth. Late that night, I crashed right at the police station. Around 4 in the morning, I was stirred by a faint, rustling sound. My eyes snapped open in an instant. In the darkness, I smiled a silent smile. The person I was waiting for had finally arrived. In the dead of night, Song Zhao returned to the morgue and repeated her old routine. She prepared the corpse and the incense burner, lit several candles in the room, and then, satisfied, started her live stream. The late-night netizens who entered the stream were completely bewildered by the scene before them. Is our little psychic medium about to start her ritual again? But didn't she mess up last time? What nonsense is she going to spout this time? Just thinking about what she said last time makes me laugh. Is she going to fabricate another non-existent person? Who is it this time? The victim's brother. Faced with the barrage of questions in the live stream, Song Zhao remained completely unflustered and explained to everyone, "The powerful resentment from the deceased overwhelmed me before, clouding my mind, but this time, I'm fully prepared. I will uncover the truth for all to see." Seeing her so resolute, the flood of skepticism that had filled the live stream chat slowly began to ebb away. In its place grew a deep curiosity about the scene unfolding before them. Bathed in the candlelight, everything Song Zhao did seemed both eerie and sacred. She placed the incense burner on the chest of the reassembled corpse. She then lit it. Smoke instantly billowed before the camera. Song Zhao took a deep breath and, as if entranced, began to murmur incantations. The living room, the kitchen, the cabin in the woods. As she spoke, her eyes suddenly flew open wide, and she turned to address the others with great excitement. "I've got it. The victim's home wasn't the primary crime scene. That was just the killer's smokescreen. The real scene of the crime is in an abandoned hut on Huangshan Mountain." The livestream audience who witnessed Song Zhao's entire ritual was utterly astonished. Even though Song Zhao had tricked them before, and they claimed not to believe in her supernatural mumbo-jumbo, some couldn't suppress their curiosity and started following her train of thought. How can the home not be the primary scene? That completely overturns everything we were told before. You know what? I actually saw a derelict hut up there when I was night hiking Mount Huangshan. I heard it was a temporary shelter for hunters back in the day. Could it be the real culprit is a hunter? The barrage was buzzing with heated discussion. Song Zhao paused for a moment, then proceeded to recount everything she claimed to have witnessed from the victim's perspective. Just as the barrage was getting really into it, Song Zhao suddenly drew a blank. She scratched her head, racking her brains, but couldn't for the life of her remember what to say. Next, the barrage of comments urged impatiently, "So what? What does the mark on the victim mean? Spit it out already." "It means, the victim's background might be unusual." Song Zhao stammered out the words, but the others immediately seized on her slip-up. "But you clearly stated from the start that the deceased was just an ordinary, honest man." Song Zhao looked as if he'd been choked. instantly rendered speechless. Having watched the entire live stream from outside the door, I knocked on the morgue door. Then, with a smile, I asked the panicked Song Xiao inside, "So what does the mark on the victim's body actually mean?" Seeing me appear out of nowhere, Song Xiao's face went deathly pale. Realizing something was wrong, she hurriedly ended her live stream, but it was no use. I had already installed cameras in the morgue. Tonight, I was actually worried she wouldn't show up. Watching Song Xiao's actions, I discreetly tapped my phone, activating the live streaming camera inside the room. The audience, who had been intently listening to the story, suddenly lost their home. They discovered my live stream and flooded in instantly, but Song Xiao was completely unaware of all this. She glared at me with gritted teeth, her expression venomous. "Shen Xiang'an, are you screwing me over again?" She casually grabbed a nearby scalpel and said, "I should have known the last time you pulled a fast one on me. You knew everything all along, didn't you?" I waved my hand dismissively. What was I supposed to know? That you never had any special smoke and mirrors talent for solving cases? That the only reason you kept beating me to the punch was because you were using some trick to eavesdrop on my inner thoughts about the investigation? Song Jiao's expression grew increasingly grim at my words. "So you know everything. So what? If you agree to serve me from now on, I might spare your life today, otherwise..." Before he could finish, Song Xiao charged at me with a knife, but at that moment, a furious roar came from outside the door. "Stop!" Director Zheng and Su Xing, along with the others, stormed in, their faces livid with rage. Song Xiao was startled by the sudden intrusion. She quickly dropped the knife in her hand and tried to turn the tables on me. "Director Zheng, Brother Xing, I was just performing the smoke divination ritual to uncover the truth as quickly as possible. But Sister Xiang'an suddenly burst in and tried to stab me. Everything I did was purely in self-defense." I was so infuriated by her sheer audacity that I almost laughed. Her voice broke into tears as she spoke, and she tried to throw herself into Su Xing's arms, only for him to sidestep and avoid her embrace. She stared at Su Xing in shock, while he, with a dark expression, thrust his phone right in front of her face. "How dare you say that? See for yourself." Song Jiao's hands trembled as she took the phone, seeing only the live stream footage showing our whole group crammed inside the morgue. This angle gives you a view of the entire room. On the live stream screen, comments were flying by at a frantic pace. "How shameless, we all saw it. You've been stealing team leader Shin's ideas all along, and you just tried to pressure her. Don't you dare try to lie your way out of this. So you don't even have that smoke reading ability to discern the truth. You've been playing us viewers for fools all this time. I recorded the whole thing. Don't even think about denying it." The screen's glow cast a sickly pallor on Song Jiao's face. She stood frozen, her entire body trembling. When she finally snapped out of it, she glared at me with pure venom. "You planned all of this, didn't you?" He tried to lunge at me again with the knife, but my colleague slammed him to the ground and held him there. Realizing he couldn't break free, Song Xiao became utterly unhinged. "Don't get cocky, Shen Xiang'an. So what if I can hear your thoughts? Is that even a crime? I'll only get a few years at most, but I'll always know what you're thinking about the case. If you have any guts, you'll quit the force for good, otherwise, you'll never escape my grasp." As she burst into maniacal laughter, everyone present and watching the live stream was infuriated by her shameless display. Only I remained perfectly calm. I pulled a string of bone chimes from my pocket and dangled them before her eyes. "You wonder why you suddenly couldn't hear my thoughts? The curse you bound me with. I've broken it. They say breaking such a spell rebounds on the caster. So, what do you think will come back to haunt you?" I had understood everything from the moment I picked up that bone chime Song Xiao dropped. 7 years ago, I was involved in the takedown of a major cult. That's when I first saw this bone bell. Back then, I only knew it was connected to some kind of occult practice, but I didn't know the specifics. This trip back to my hometown was partly for a break, to see how they'd manage cases without Song Xiao around, and partly to dig through all the files from that old case. And I finally uncovered Song Jiao's secret. Song Jiao's eyes widened in horror at the object in my hand, screaming in utter despair, "This can't be. How did you find it? You can't unbind it. I'll die." But no matter how she struggled, it was futile. Her colleagues simply escorted her out. Her figure gradually faded from everyone's sight. Su Xing stepped forward and grabbed my hand, saying, "Xiang'an, I'm sorry. It was Song Xiao who kept telling me that you often bullied her behind her back. That's why I treated you that way. She deceived me. I never truly wanted to break up with you. Let's get back together, okay?" I let out a cold laugh and shook off his hand. "Impossible. We were over a long time ago." With that, I walked out with Director Zhang and the other colleagues, ignoring the panicked, pleading look on his face as I stepped outside. The early morning sun was just beginning to rise. Standing in the corridor, I looked at the faint light and slowly let out a sigh of relief. This whole farce had lasted what felt like 2 lifetimes, and now, it was finally over. At daybreak, I quickly led a team to apprehend the perpetrator of the dismemberment case. Last night's live stream footage was clipped and spread everywhere by netizens, instantly causing a huge uproar. The netizens who had previously cursed me without knowing the truth came forward to apologize one after another. Some even spontaneously organized a group to gather outside the police station, holding banners to express their apologies to me. However, Song Xiao never made it to the start of his trial. The backlash drove him insane, and he ultimately died by smashing his head against the wall in the detention center. Su Xing would come to my office every single day, begging to get back together, but I never gave him the time of day. Eventually, he came to realize our relationship was truly over. Heartbroken, he requested a transfer to another department. I went back to my normal routine, putting all those memories behind me. It wasn't until a raid, when I saw that identical bone wind chime in another victim's home, that it hit me. This was still happening. The end. Story 2. When the blizzard hit, my husband abandoned me at the bus stop, insisting on turning back to drive his 5 months pregnant subordinate home. I collapsed from the cold, begging him to save me, only to be met with his furious scolding. Have you no compassion? How can you, a healthy person, be jealous of a pregnant woman? But he didn't know. I was pregnant too. Watching the car disappear into the snowy distance, I clutched my belly and let out a desperate, bitter laugh. I don't want the child anymore. I don't want this person anymore either. But when my husband found out I had chosen to have an abortion, he broke down, holding me by the waist. He cried and begged, "Can we try for another child? We can still have a baby." I slammed the divorce papers in his face and shouted, "Get out." As the blizzard approached, Nash Song abandoned me at the bus stop, insisting on driving back in my dowry car to send his 5 months pregnant subordinate home. Clutching my phone, a chill spread from my fingertips to my entire body. But the forecast says it's going to be a blizzard. You know there's a blizzard coming. Lacey Zhou is pregnant now. What if something happens to her? You're a grown adult. Can't you even take care of yourself? He slammed the car door shut, his tone dripping with impatience and disgust. I clung to the car handle, not daring to let go. But I've been feeling unwell all day. Since morning, I've been dizzy and weak, even vomiting constantly. I had considered going to the hospital for a checkup, but thinking about saving money with Nash Song for our future baby, I decided against it. Little did I know he would choose this moment to abandon me at the bus stop. If you're unwell, go straight to the hospital. I'm not a doctor. What good would it do to come to me? He paused, then added, "You're a perfectly healthy person. Why are you jealous of a pregnant woman?" I took a deep breath, struggling to hold back the tears that were about to overflow. "Nash Song, I'm asking you one last time, are you really going to pick her up and leave me behind?" Ridiculous. Nash Song didn't even glance at me, starting the engine and driving off without another word. The car sped away, kicking up dust as snowflakes began to drift from the sky. I could no longer hold back my tears. They burst forth uncontrollably. The wind and snow grew increasingly fierce, and I tightened my thin coat, shivering under the bus stop sign. I forced myself onto the last bus, which was packed with people. The air inside was stale, filled with all sorts of odors. I gripped the handrail tightly, feeling a wave of nausea churning in my stomach. Suddenly, the bus braked sharply, and I was thrown forward, falling heavily to the ground. The crowd around me gasped in shock, but I couldn't feel any pain, only a heart-wrenching, excruciating agony in my abdomen. I felt myself slowly losing consciousness, the sounds around me growing fainter and fainter, until all that remained was a faint buzzing in my ears. When I woke up again, I was already lying on a hospital bed. The pungent smell of disinfectant filled the air, and the white walls felt cold and unfamiliar. A nurse walked over and said indifferently, "You're pregnant, but the baby might not survive. Trying to keep it could endanger the mother. Do you still want it? Pregnant, a baby?" My mind went blank. I'm actually pregnant, but is there still a need for this child? I thought numbly as the doctor asked my family to pick me up. Looking up at the snowflakes filling the sky, I felt an unbearable chill. I also wanted Nash Song to come for me, but when I called, all I got was his impatient refusal. Mechanically, I unlocked my phone. The glaring post in my social feed was from Lacey Zhou. The caption reads, "Thank you Nash for protecting me and our child like a warrior. Rain or shine, even in a snowstorm, you still got me home safely. Below it was a photo of steaming chicken soup and a happy maternity shot of Lacey Zhou in the comments section. Nash Song even left a like. Seeing that glowing red heart, I suddenly felt a deep sense of irony in the blizzard. My husband drove my dowry car to escort another pregnant woman, ignoring my suffering of taking the bus, and even nearly killed our child. A surge of rage rose from the depths of my heart, burning so fiercely that it ached throughout my entire being. I typed this comment below, wishing you both a long and happy life together. Tomorrow, we're getting divorced. These words seemed to drain every ounce of strength from my body. I get along well with my colleagues, including Nash Song. I'm sure everyone in the department can see this message. Sure enough, Xiaomei privately messaged me, "Sis, don't misunderstand Nash. He was just giving her a ride home." I didn't reply. They had no idea that when I needed him the most, he chose another woman and her child instead. At that moment, my heart died. This child is no longer worth keeping. I called the nurse and gave a bleak smile. No need to preserve the pregnancy. Perform an abortion for me. In a daze, I returned home, my hair already dusted white with snow. Dragging my heavy steps to the bedside, I pulled the thick down comforter over myself, wrapping tightly into a ball, trying to absorb some warmth. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the door was violently kicked open, and Nash Song stood furiously at the entrance, his disheveled tie and dark expression betraying his overwhelming anger. "What did you mean by that comment? You deliberately embarrassed me in front of my subordinates." He tugged at his tie, his tone dripping with impatience. Wrapped in the blanket, I remained motionless, simply watching him quietly, as if he were a stranger. He seemed even more infuriated, raising his voice. "It's just giving a colleague a ride to and from work. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it? Everyone in the company knows Lacey Zhou is pregnant. Special circumstances call for special care. Can't you be a little more understanding? Is it really worth arguing with me over something so trivial?" Every word he spoke was like a sharp knife, stabbing straight into my heart. For 3 years of marriage, he had always been gentle and considerate, indulging my every whim, but now, he was accusing me of being petty and narrow-minded, all for another woman. A chill shot up from my feet straight to my heart. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails nearly dug into my palms. I took a deep breath, struggling to suppress the turmoil inside me, and said, "Narrow-minded, Nash Song, it's snowing today. I just asked you to give me a ride home on your way. Was that so hard? I'm your wife. How many times do I have to tell you? It's just colleagues helping each other out. Mara, I remember you weren't like this before, but I'm pregnant too." My face turned deathly pale, my stomach churning violently, almost making me vomit. Nash Song stood at the door, arms crossed, looking impatient. "What now? What kind of sympathy act is this?" I raised my head and stared at him coldly. "An act? Nash Song, do you really think I'd stoop to such games? Let me tell you, the baby was lost while you were busy sending another woman home." He froze for a moment, then scoffed, "Stop joking. Just because I refused to give you a ride, you start making up stories. A child, where did you get a child from? If you were really pregnant, you should be more considerate of Lacey Zhou. She's a pregnant woman with limited mobility. Why are you picking fights with her?" His tone was icy, devoid of any concern, filled only with endless accusations. I couldn't hold back any longer. Tears streamed down my face. In his mind, is this the kind of person I am? Someone who would fabricate lies and even use a child to gain sympathy, all just to compete for favor. Just now, Lacey even said she upset you and wanted to come apologize specially. Others are so understanding, yet you're the one making unreasonable demands. I kept a sullen face and remained silent. Suddenly, the ringing of my phone interrupted my thoughts. The phone screen flashed with the name Lacey Zhou, and I could almost picture her hypocritical expression at that very moment. Nash Song pressed the answer button, but before he could speak, her sickly sweet voice came through. "Nash, is Sister Mara okay?" I heard. "Sister Mara is really angry. Don't take it to heart. She's just too impatient. She definitely still loves you." Even through the phone, I could smell the stench of her manipulative words. "Don't defend her. I've spoiled her rotten, throwing a tantrum over something so trivial." Nash Song's voice was dripping with tenderness. "Don't worry about this. Go to sleep. You're carrying a child, after all." He gently hung up the phone, turned to look at me, his eyes filled with impatience again. "I'll sleep in the study tonight. You should reflect on yourself." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and slowly opened them. "Nash Song," I said calmly, "let's get a divorce." He froze, seemingly caught off guard by my words, then let out a mocking laugh. "Divorce? What are you making a fuss about now? My patience has its limits. Is this really necessary? It doesn't matter anymore, let's divorce. My tone was steady, but each word felt like a nail. Driving straight into his heart, I finally only told my best friend Linway about the miscarriage. I called Linway, and her voice was filled with heartache and anger. Mara, you're just foolish. Back then, for his future, you voluntarily gave up the promotion opportunity and left the company. Now, just because he got a promotion, he's acting all high and mighty and flirting with subordinates. I closed my eyes, listening to my best friend's concerned scolding, finally feeling a bit of comfort. Yes, I was truly foolish. Not only did I give up a great promotion opportunity, but I even handed over the dowry my parents gave me to support his career. And now, this is how he treats me. Mara, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on them at the company. If I find anything, I won't let that bastard get away with it. I responded softly and hung up the phone. The snow today has covered the entire city. It's so cold. I took a week off, planning to rest properly. I opened the door, and a chill rushed in. The house was empty. Nash Song had left early, without even coming to see me. In the past, whenever we argued, no matter who was right or wrong, he would always leave a fridge magnet with a playful apology or a warm, comforting message. But this time, the fridge was bare. There was nothing at all. Although it was just a miscarriage in the early months, the doctor said I still couldn't take it lightly. If I didn't recover properly, it could lead to chronic health issues later. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I mechanically stood in line, registered, and waited. Suddenly, a familiar conversation reached my ears. It was the joyful chatter of expectant parents. Nash, this outfit is so adorable. Should we buy it for our little one? Whatever you say. Nash, the doctor said the baby is growing quite big. I think it might be a boy. If only it looks like you. Hee. Boy or girl, it's all good. My parents said they'll come take care of you after you give birth. The woman's voice laughed happily, following the familiar male voice. I looked up in disbelief and indeed saw Nash Song. What did he mean by his parents said they would come take care of her once Lacey Zhou gives birth? Could it be that the child in Lacey Zhou's belly is actually Nash Song's? I felt as if struck by lightning, while Nash Song gently held that woman in his arms, his face full of adoration. He also saw me, the smile on his face instantly freezing, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. What are you doing here? Are you really pregnant? He asked stiffly. I clenched the test report tightly in my hand, my nails digging deep into my flesh, but the pain was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. Does it matter? I retorted coldly, turning my head to see Lacey Zhou. Congratulations. By the way, you're about to become a mother. Thank you, Sister Mara. I wasn't feeling well today, so I asked Nash to bring me here for a checkup. Please don't misunderstand. I let out a cold laugh but remained silent. Misunderstand? What would I need to misunderstand? Perhaps my gaze was too icy, because Nash Song also sensed that something was off. He frowned, his tone tinged with displeasure. Mara, what kind of attitude is this? I thought you had reflected properly. What attitude? I curled my lips into a cold smile, struggling to suppress the raging fury in my heart. Nash Song, do you take me for a fool? You drove her home, and now you're accompanying her to a prenatal checkup. Do you think I'm blind? Lacey Zhou seemed frightened by me, shrinking back and hiding behind Nash Song as she said weakly, Nash, Mara is so fierce, she might scare the baby. Don't be afraid, Lacey, I'll talk to her properly. He comforted Lacey Zhou gently, but when he turned to look at me, his eyes were filled with disgust. Enough already. Are you stalking me? What do you want to know? Whether the child is mine? His tone was icy. So what if it's mine? Before, I still felt some guilt towards you, but seeing how jealous you are, I know I made the right choice. So this child really is Nash Song's, this scumbag. With Nash Song's favor, Lacey Zhou immediately changed her attitude, arrogantly stroking her pregnant belly and boasting, Nash not only picks me up and drops me off, but also accompanies me for walks, brings me afternoon tea, and won't even let me take the bus or subway. He says only women without any ability would squeeze onto public transport. If we're talking about the skill of being shameless, I must admit, I'm no match for you. I scoffed. What? Does she think Nash Song is some kind of treasure? You, Lacey Zhou was left speechless, but I continued to taunt her word by word. What about me, Lacey Zhou? Don't tell me you think being a homewrecker is something to be proud of. TSK, still better than a useless hag with no skills. She rolled her eyes as we exchanged insults. Ha, if you want this man, I'll let you have him, I sneered, no longer caring. But as for my money, don't even dream of getting a single cent. Turning to Nash Song, I snapped, the car is mine. Hand over the keys now. Still dreaming of a beauty to match your fancy car. Keep Dreaming, faced with his betrayal, I was surprisingly calm. No more tears, no more outbursts. Consider it as feeding your sincerity to a dog. From now on, take back what you rightfully deserve. I snatched the keys back in one swift motion, leaving the two stunned. Nash Song probably never expected me to be so fierce and stood there dumbfounded. The first thing I did when I got home was throw out all of Nash Song's belongings, his clothes, shoes, ties, gaming console, even his most treasured limited edition sneakers. I swept them all into trash bags. I was like a person possessed, frantically erasing every trace related to him. This house was bought before marriage under my name. Nash Song didn't contribute a single penny, so what right does he have to strut around here with Lacey Zhou? After exhausting myself for most of the night, I collapsed onto the sofa. Only then did I realize how suffocating my life had been during these 3 years of marriage. Like a fool, I was played for a fool by him and Lacey Zhou. Originally, we were both working on projects at the company, and I had always been the top performer. It was him who said the work pressure was too much and that after marriage, he wanted me to rest properly, letting him shoulder the burden of work. I took his words to heart. After marriage, I gave up my promotion opportunities, handed over all my resources to him, and took up a clerical job at a small company. The pay was low, but with regular hours from 9 to 5, it was stable and secure. I had much more time to spend with him, with his parents, and to keep the household in perfect order. Now that his life has improved, he's making more money and has been promoted, those little thoughts of his can no longer be hidden. The phone rang. It was Nash Song calling. I hung up directly and then blocked him immediately after. He called again from a different number. I answered irritably. What the hell do you want? Mara Zhou, are you out of your mind? You threw all my things away. Do you know how expensive those were? His voice was filled with anger. Ha, Nash Song, so you know what expensive means. Then what did you take my youth and my feelings for? Bargain bin trash, I sneered. Stop being unreasonable. Lacey is pregnant now and emotionally unstable. I can't let her get upset. So what? You want me to suffer so you can pamper your mistress and illegitimate child? I was practically laughing from sheer disbelief. Mara Zhou, don't go too far. Who do you think you are? If it weren't for me, who would even look at you? Before he could finish, I cut him off. Nash Song, listen up. From today on, there's nothing between us anymore. Go be with whoever you want. Just don't bother me again. And this house is mine. It has nothing to do with you. Don't come back. With that, I hung up the phone fiercely and blocked him too. Turning off my phone, the world was finally quiet. I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the brightly lit city outside, now completely blanketed in snow. I took a deep breath. Divorce. Perhaps it was the most correct decision I had made in the past 3 years. Early the next morning, I went to the law firm to consult about the divorce proceedings. The lawyer said that both the car and the house were purchased before marriage, considered premarital assets, and would remain mine after the divorce. The other parts just need to be discussed with my husband. What's there to discuss? Everything belongs to me. He leaves with nothing. I grabbed my phone and scrolled to Lin Wei's number. My best friend is the intelligence hub at the company. If she wants to know something, there's nothing she can't find out. Vivi, I'm at the hospital. I ran into Nash Song and Lacey Zhou, and they confronted me. What a pair of scumbags. Just wait, I'm going to chop him up. Vivi, don't act rashly. I need you to do me a favor. I paused, then continued, gather all the dirt on them at the company. I have a tough battle ahead. I'll make sure they're utterly disgraced. I sneered coldly. A flash of ruthlessness passing through my eyes. Lin Wei worked quickly, and it didn't take long before she sent over the photos and videos. Suppressing my disgust, I reviewed all the evidence. Did they think they could do whatever they wanted just because it wasn't happening right under my nose? Turns out, the affair between Nash Song and Lacey Zhou had long been an open secret in the company. Hugging and flirting are child's play. What's worse is they even carry on in the company break room, meeting rooms, and even the office. They often take advantage of business trips to go off together. The whole department knows. But because of their positions, everyone keeps it from me. These two are utterly shameless. Lin Wei's tone dripped with scorn. I always said Nash Song isn't that capable. Many of the projects he used for his promotion were actually ones you worked on before. He just took credit for your achievements and claimed them as his own. My hand gripping the wine glass suddenly tightened, nails digging deep into my palm. And that bitch Lacey Zhou, relying on Nash Song's favor, acts like she owns the company. Anyone who crosses her ends up getting sidelined by Nash Song. So many people have been pushed out because of her. Listening to Lin Wei's revelations, I felt like a complete fool. All my hard work had ultimately become stepping stones for their climb up the ladder, I sneered. Truly. One who sows the wind shall reap the whirlwind. Since they have no sense of shame, don't blame me for being ruthless. I compiled all the evidence into a PowerPoint and had Lin Wei send it to the company's main group chat, stirring up a storm with a single stone. The group chat exploded instantly, and it wasn't long before Nash Song and Lacey Zhou were called in for a talk. Lin Wei also called, her voice brimming with excitement. Mara, your PPT is amazing. The whole company is talking about it now. Nash Song and Lacey Zhou's reputations are completely ruined. I bet they'll be packing their bags and leaving tomorrow. As expected, Nash Song and Lacey Zhou were fired by the company, but this wasn't enough. Far from enough. I opened my computer and drafted a new email. In the recipient field, I entered the email addresses of all the clients who had worked with Nash Song, as well as those of senior executives in the industry. In the attachment are those disgusting videos and photos that Lin Wei sent me. In no time, Nash Song's scandal was everywhere, becoming a disgrace in the industry, I guess. No other company in the field would be willing to hire him now, would they? Lin Wei called me with the good news. Mara, the entire industry has issued a ban. They absolutely refuse to take in these two scumbags. Moreover, Nash Song has nowhere to go now and can only hole up in Lacey Zhou's rented apartment. These days, Lacey Zhou is like an angry old hen, constantly fuming over this useless man. I also find it somewhat amusing. Didn't Lacey Zhou think Nash Song was some kind of treasure? Now that she's got him, why isn't she cherishing him anymore? After being fired, Nash Song barged into my house like a mad dog, shamelessly refusing to divorce. Why should we divorce? This house is half mine, he shouted, eyes bloodshot, reeking of alcohol, spittle flying onto my face. I wiped my face in disgust and sneered. Nash Song, you were caught red-handed cheating during our marriage, and you still have the nerve to ask for the house. Keep dreaming. Hearing this, he became even more aggressive, spewing vulgar insults. You bitch, you made Lacey Zhou threaten to abort the baby. If anything happens to my child, I'll make you pay. I couldn't be bothered to engage with him and simply locked the door behind me. The next morning, as I left for work, I found the door vandalized with bright red paint, scrawled with words like barren hen and husband killer. The pungent smell of the paint made me nauseous. No need to think. It must be the doing of that Nash Song and his family. Sure enough, Nash Song's parents stood like two guardian deities blocking my doorstep. I quickly tightened my coat, yet still felt a bone-chilling cold. You're such a cruel woman. On such a cold day, you actually made my son homeless. His mother was the first to attack. Of course your son is sleeping in his cozy nest. I suppressed my anger, my tone laced with sarcasm. How could I forget him saying that once Lacey Zhou gives birth, you'd be eagerly rushing to take care of her during her confinement. So how is it that now you're suddenly homeless? At these words, her face darkened even more, pointing a finger at me, she screeched. So what if that's the case, you jinx? 3 years of marriage and not even a hint of a baby in your belly, yet you have the nerve to hog my son's house. Our Song family lineage must not end. The child in Xiao Zhou's belly is a boy, precious beyond measure. A woman like you deserves to be drowned in a pig cage. Flecks of spit flew from her mouth as her shrill voice rose. Disgusted, I took a step back. His father chimed in as well. Exactly. How did your parents raise you? You have no manners at all. My son has been so good to you, providing you with good food and drink, and this is how you treat him. Do you even have a conscience? Hurry up and transfer the property to my son. Consider it some compensation for our old Song family. Looking at their ugly faces, I felt a wave of nausea churn in my stomach. It was utterly revolting. This wasn't about seeking an explanation, it was outright extortion. I pulled out my phone and called the police directly. Hello, 110, there are people here maliciously vandalizing my walls, blocking my door, and threatening me. The police arrived quickly and took the elderly Song couple away. Watching them being shoved into the police car, I felt a surge of satisfaction. That evening, I received a call from the police station asking me to come over. When I arrived, I saw Nash Song's parents sitting stiffly, their faces filled with defiance but unable to hide the panic in their eyes. I said firmly to the police, I want to press charges against them for trespassing and malicious vandalism. I refuse any private settlement. You wretched woman. Nash Song's mother pointed at me, her lips trembling. I glared at them coldly. There's a high-definition camera right at my door, capturing every angle clearly. Your criminal evidence is undeniable. And now you dare to spew nonsense in the police station. I'll sue you for defamation too, Mother Song slumped in her chair, her face alternating between green and pale. I snorted disdainfully. The sin was committed by your son, not me. If he hadn't cheated first, I'd still be respectfully calling you mom and dad, showering you with gifts during holidays. These cotton-padded jackets you're wearing, I went to 3 different malls last winter just to pick them out for you, and they cost over 3,000 yuan. For the past 3 years, I've given you my heart and soul, and what do I get in return? A morning of paint, threats and curses. Why should I swallow this anger? As I spoke, my eyes grew slightly moist, but I held back the tears, refusing to let them fall. The police, following my instructions, began taking notes and once again warned the Song parents to mind their words. At that moment, Nash Song also arrived at the police station. The moment he entered, he fell to his knees with a thud before me. His face twisted in sorrow as he pleaded, "Mara, I'm begging you, please let my parents go. I know I was wrong. I want a divorce. I'll do it right now. I'll agree to whatever terms you say. I won't make a scene anymore." As he spoke, he began slapping himself hard across the face, each blow louder than the last, as if trying to express his remorse through this physical punishment. Watching him in this state, I felt not a single ripple of emotion, only endless disgust. To ensure a smooth divorce process, I ultimately chose to forgive his parents. I quickly called my lawyer to draft the divorce agreement immediately and had Nash Song sign it. After dealing with all this mess, I was completely exhausted, both physically and mentally. I threw myself onto the sofa, picked up my phone, and scrolled through the photos of Nash Song and me from before. The sweet memories from the past now seemed so ironic and ridiculous. How could I have been so blind to fall in love with such a scumbag? I deleted all the photos and videos related to him, completely erasing him from my life. The moment I held the divorce certificate in my hand, I felt all the strength drain from my body. 3 years of marriage shattered in an instant. To say I felt nothing would be a lie, but I knew all too well that a long agony is worse than a short one. Dragging it out would only bring more pain. In a way, I even felt relieved. Thankfully, that child chose not to come into this world. That night, Lin Wei and I drank ourselves into oblivion. She patted me on the shoulder while slurring her words, "Men, they're all the same. Don't take them too seriously. Hick, sis will have your back from now on." I laughed and pushed her away, but a warm feeling surged in my heart when I called my parents back home to talk about the divorce. I expected them to scold me, but instead, they overwhelmingly supported me. "Mara, we never thought that guy was right for you, but you were so head over heels that we couldn't stop you." "Dad, Mom, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so willful." Hearing my parents' voices, my nose tingled, and I couldn't hold back my tears. "It's okay, sweetheart. It's good that you left. Live well from now on, and we'll always support you." With the support of my parents and close friends, I felt as if I had divine assistance. I went home and had a prosperous new year, fully recharging my energy. When spring came and the snow melted, I returned to the city. I quit my 9-to-5 office job and found a challenging new role in live streaming operations. 3 years of marriage had drained all my passion and ambition. Now was the time to reclaim them. The work was exhausting, yet deeply fulfilling. Before long, I carved out my own success through sheer capability. Business negotiations came one after another, and the streamers under my management were all making a fortune. With work temporarily settled, I finally had a chance to catch my breath. I arranged to meet Lin Wei, and we found a quiet cafe, ordered 2 cappuccinos, and started catching up. "How have you been lately? Is work going well?" Lin Wei asked with concern. "Not bad, quite fulfilling," I replied with a smile, taking a sip of my coffee. "That's good." Lin Wei also smiled, then leaned in mysteriously and lowered her voice to ask, "That bastard, do you want to know how he's doing now?" I looked at my best friend curiously. Wanting to know about him now is just the result of lingering resentment. Lin Wei observed my expression and sighed in relief. "Let me tell you, that guy is having a really rough time now. He couldn't make it in the city, lost all his reputation, and had to slink back to his hometown to live off his parents." Lin Wei vividly described. "Guess what? Lacey Zhou actually followed him back." "Lacey Zhou? Is she out of her mind?" "Exactly. I heard the Song family parents initially treated Lacey Zhou like royalty, but not long after she gave birth, things changed. They started bossing her around endlessly, laundry, cooking, feeding pigs. She had to do it all." Lin Wei's tone carried a hint of mockery. "But that's not even the worst part." Lin Wei lowered her voice mysteriously. "Rumor has it their child, because of the Song parents' superstitions, missed proper treatment and ended up brain damaged from a fever." I nearly spat out my coffee, feeling a pang of pity, and asked, "How could this happen? What kind of superstition?" just the same old rural nonsense. When the child had a fever, they refused to go to the hospital and insisted on performing exorcisms at home, and then, Lin Wei shrugged with a you-know-how-it-goes expression. I sighed deeply. Honestly, the child was the most innocent one. Who would have thought their life would begin with such a catastrophic start? What about Nash Song? He couldn't have just stood by and watched, could he? I asked Lin Wei. Him, what can he even do? He ran back to the city drowning in debt, penniless, and when his child got into trouble, all he could do was haul bricks at a construction site. Lin Wei's tone was dripping with disdain. And guess what? This young master broke his leg within 3 days of working there. I covered my mouth, feigning surprise. That unlucky, exactly, Lin Wei vividly recounted. Now the whole family is relying solely on Lacey Zhou to keep things afloat. She used to be so haughty, but now she has to grovel before the 2 elderly Song family members, take care of a child with special needs, and look after a crippled husband. TSK, how the tables have turned. In Lin Wei's description, Lacey Zhou had become a disheveled old woman, and Nash Song had truly turned into a useless wreck. My eyes turned cold as I recalled that humiliating marriage. Thankfully, I cut my losses in time. All of this was destined by fate, otherwise, the one suffering would have been me and my child. They say only the wicked can torment the wicked. Let that wretched family drown in their misery. As for me, it's time to embrace my perfect life. Here is the second article. At the engagement party, my fiancé was called away by a single phone call from his mistress. Afterwards, she taunted me, saying, "We are the true love." Ezra Jing would stop a plane to chase her, abandon a business alliance marriage, and even spend 500 million just to catch a glimpse of her in the hands of kidnappers. What am I, compared to that? I smiled faintly without speaking. Oh, the pitiful creature who thinks she's loved. How I look forward to the expression on her face when her dreams shatter. Mr. Jing is missing. The waiter frantically reported to me. I casually smoothed my hair and admired the $100 million look in the full-length mirror, thoroughly pleased. If it's gone, it's gone. Inform the guests to move to the grand hall upstairs. Let's have an extraordinary and magnificent ball. How could my billion-dollar styling just go to waste like that? The engagement banquet abruptly transformed into a high society ball. Even if it was untimely, who among the present would dare to speak out of turn in front of me? With a graceful smile, I personally hosted the ball, observing the confusion on everyone's faces but offering no further explanation. As expected, no one dared to comment, and everyone calmly went through the entire process as if they had long known it was just an ordinary high society ball. The banquet ended with all guests and hosts in high spirits. Since Ezra Jing dared to disappear during the engagement party, it was only natural for me to demand an explanation. The elders of both families were very satisfied with my ability to handle the situation on the spot, but at the same time, the anger towards Ezra Jing's antics grew even more intense. Absurd. How old are you? Can't you even distinguish the seriousness of the occasion? Is this matter of skyfalling importance something you must personally attend to? Leaving Lena behind, Madame Jing struck her cane forcefully, scolding Ezra Jing with a face full of fury. The elder Mr. Jing passed away early, and in those days, the Jing family was surrounded by wolves and tigers. It was this matriarch who wielded thunderous authority to stabilize the Jing family's position and suppress many ambitious schemes in high society. There is no one who does not show her a measure of respect. Even though she is now old and her eyes are dim, it doesn't mean she is senile. The marriage between Ezra Jing and me was orchestrated by this old lady herself. Ezra Jing lowered his eyes, his posture humble. The dark circles under his eyes and the bloodshot whites made it clear he hadn't slept for nights. His spirit worn and weary, he remained silent, obediently accepting the old lady's reprimands. This was his usual demeanor. In front of elders, he was always the picture of a repentant and well-behaved man. The old lady had been scolding for so long that she grew tired, and with Mrs. Jing constantly trying to placate her with kind words, she eventually grew annoyed. Turning to me, she put on a warm smile again. Lena, it's that rascal Ezra Jing who's wronged you. Feel free to hit or scold him however you like. You two grew up together, and you know how his brain sometimes short-circuits and he does stupid things, but deep down, he's not a bad kid. However you want to handle this, just let him make it up to you. I was admiring my freshly done manicure when suddenly being put on the spot, so I could only respond with a polite smile. I don't mind much. Ezra often surprises me like this. I'm used to it by now, but my parents are a bit confused, so they specifically dragged me here to ask, does the Jing family have any issues with me? or with my Pei family. The final note faded, leaving the room so silent you could hear a pin drop. Who dares to voice any objections against the Pei family? The Pei family may be the new tech elite in Haicheng, but they are the last ones you'd want to cross. Founded under the leadership of CEO Pei, the family's influence has expanded more than tenfold in just over a decade, forcing even the established old money families of Haicheng to step aside. Among Mr. Pei's 3 children, the least promising one is sitting right in front of them, yet, even this least promising individual, upon entering the jewelry industry a few years ago, quickly rose to become one of the top players in the field. Mrs. Jing originally favored my eldest sister as the ideal marriage candidate. Unfortunately, my sister didn't take a liking to Ezra Jing. Although Ezra Jing is highly capable, he still falls short of being a match for the heir of the Pei family. Settling for second best, I'm the perfect candidate, Lena Pei. This was Ezra Jing's first utterance since arriving today. Let's talk privately if there's anything. He gave me a covert glance, his eyes shadowed. I raised an eyebrow slightly, thinking this was interesting, and was quite willing to humor him. Fine, then we'll handle it ourselves. No need to trouble the elders. Speak up, what's the meaning of running away from the engagement banquet? Giving me attitude, I crossed my arms, glaring at him with displeasure. Ezra Jing pulled out a cigarette, lit it, took 2 deep drags, then threw it to the ground under my disgusted gaze and crushed it with his shoe. Mira Lu is pregnant, I scoffed lightly. None of my damn business. That's your mistress, your little fling. I certainly don't have the ability to get her pregnant with my kid. Besides, I remember warning you to cut ties with her cleanly. I don't care who you're with, but I hate trouble, and she doesn't seem like the quiet type. You've always looked down on me, Ezra Jing blurted out. Straying from the topic, I answered without hesitation, I don't see anything about you worth my respect. Ezra Jing chuckled softly. Then why did you agree to marry me? I need a husband in name, and you need a wife in name. As luck would have it, this husband and wife can bring each other tremendous benefits. My answer was so matter-of-fact that it sent Ezra Jing into fits of laughter like a madman. I was about to go up and kick him when his face suddenly darkened, and he asked, "Then do you believe in love?" I scoffed. Only fools believe in that nonsense. That day, Ezra Jing dragged me into a conversation as if he were drunk, rambling on like an idiot, constantly beating around the bush about love or whatever, until my ears were calloused from listening. I had always thought his attitude toward Mira Lu was just for fun, but now perhaps I need to reconsider. In the end, we reached some kind of strange agreement. The marriage would still proceed, but it would be held after Mira Lu gave birth to the child. I continued my daily routine of indulging in food, drink, and entertainment, spending money like water and living an extravagantly luxurious life. When in a good mood, I'd go to the office for a couple of days to fulfill my duties as CEO. Perhaps out of some strange sense of guilt, my parents and siblings kept transferring more and more money into my account, to the point where I could barely keep up with my reckless spending. Day after day, I drowned myself in dreams and intoxication, almost forgetting what era I was living in. Little did I expect trouble to arrive so unexpectedly. The banquet ended, and having been plied with quite a bit of alcohol, my steps were unsteady. Though my mind remained relatively clear, I lazily leaned on a man's shoulder, letting him support me. The young master of the fallen noble family, the Li family. I knew what kind of scheme he was plotting, and I was happy to play along, considering he was at least somewhat decent. Just then, someone blocked my path. I lazily lifted my eyelids, didn't recognize him. The woman's makeup was bright and striking, her figure tall and slender, wearing flat shoes that didn't quite match her evening gown, yet her expression carried a somewhat haughty air. Miss Pei, I've long heard of your reputation. It's a pleasure to finally meet you today. I didn't recognize her, but I could tell she meant trouble, so I retorted sharply, I attend banquets like this every day. How come I'm only seeing you today? What? Were you not qualified to attend such events before? The woman was choked up, unable to retort, because every word I said hit her where it hurt. I'm Mira Lu, she said, her chin slightly raised, exuding an air of arrogance as if I should naturally know who she was. Never heard of you. A good dog doesn't block the way. Get lost. Mira Lu's face twisted in anger for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. I just came today to advise Miss Pei that a marriage without love is like a pair of glass slippers that don't fit, glamorous to outsiders but agonizing in reality. I burst out laughing, unable to resist teasing. Then has anyone told you that a woman without status is called a mistress, and a child without status is called a bastard? Mira Lu turned pale, my words cut like knives. carving into her heart, Lena Pei, Ezra Jing and I are the ones truly in love. You're the one standing in the way. Aren't you even a little curious about what Ezra Jing ran off to do on the day of your engagement? I pick at my ear, probably off on some shady rendezvous with a despicable bug. His taste has always been terrible, and his preferences rather peculiar. Mira Liu is so furious that veins bulge at her temples, but she doesn't forget her objective, forcing out a triumphant tone. That day, I left the pregnancy test results behind and boarded a flight abroad. Ezra intercepted the plane and came personally to beg me to stay. Suddenly, it all makes sense to me. I was wondering why Ezra Jing suddenly borrowed money from me for no reason. Turns out he couldn't cover the hush money and compensation after stopping the plane. Acting cool feels great, but don't force it if your wallet can't keep up. I watched her with amusement, debating whether to reveal the truth. I'd love to see Ezra Jing's image shatter in his mistress's eyes. On second thought, forget it. Better not screw over a business partner. It'd make me look untrustworthy. Mira Liu, seeing my prolonged silence, thought she had grasped my weakness. Ezra has told me everything. There's no affection between you two. It's purely a partnership of convenience. I silently agreed. That much was true. If that's the case, Miss Pei, why cling to him so desperately? Everyone should pursue their true love. Ezra has already found his, so why insist on keeping someone who doesn't love you by your side? The tale of having the body but not the heart is far too cliched. I was stunned. You're saying I'm clinging to him desperately? I was almost laughing in anger. That idiot Ezra Jing is two-faced, bad-mouthing me without hesitation to placate his mistress. Mira Liu sneered at my reaction. Or is it that Ezra can't bear to part with you? Miss Pei, do you really enjoy meddling in other people's relationships this much? I laughed genuinely. Ezra Jing's taste in partners is as appalling as his character. Utterly incapable of telling who's truly in charge. Allow me to kindly remind the forgetful Miss Homewrecker, my engagement with Ezra Jing is common knowledge among the entire high society of Haicheng. The cancellation of the engagement party doesn't mean the engagement is off. I hope the other party has some self-awareness about who the real third wheel is. Mira Liu was incredulous, shrieking sharply, you still plan to marry Ezra? Lena Pei, how shameless can you be? I raised an eyebrow slightly. Open marriage, clearly, you wouldn't understand that, you bumpkin. Mira Liu was so furious her chest heaved uncontrollably. Her purpose in deliberately blocking me today was to annoy me, making me self-aware enough to give up on Ezra Jing. But how could she understand? For people like us, marriage is about the family power behind it. As for what kind of garbage the actual marriage partner is, it doesn't matter at all. The understanding between Ezra Jing and me is that we each do our own thing, neither interfering with the other, and not bringing trouble into the marriage is the bottom line. But it seems Mira Liu just can't grasp this bottom line. Her face turned ashen, her brightly colored red lips trembling slightly as she desperately tried to find her shattered dignity by belittling me. Lena Pei, you were just born lucky. What else do you have to show for yourself? Ezra is the sole heir of the Jing family. His abilities and looks are outstanding in every way. What makes you worthy of him? Besides eating, drinking, and having fun, what other skills do you have? He doesn't love you, and you don't love him either. There's no love between you, and you're not even a good match. How can you still have the nerve to marry him? This level of damage was too low to stir even the slightest ripple in me. Before I could open my mouth to deliver the final blow, Li Duo couldn't hold back and snapped first. She's not good enough for Ezra Jing, and you think you're qualified. If I remember correctly, you're just an internet celebrity who got famous from a dance show, constantly marketing your daily life with a mysterious wealthy boyfriend. Does Ezra Jing even know you're using him to attract attention and make money? I was shocked. How do you know all this? Li Duo scoffed. She signed under my friend's agency. She tried to seduce my buddy before but failed. Who knows how she ended up with Ezra Jing? Mira Liu didn't expect Li Duo to suddenly intervene and expose all her secrets. Instantly flushing red with anger, she stumbled back 2 steps in panic, her footing unsteady, nearly losing her balance. The next moment, she hunched over, clutching her abdomen with a pained and slightly contorted expression, moaning, My stomach hurts so bad. The baby, my baby. I was utterly impressed by this masterful display of acting. I could already guess how this script was going to play out. Sure enough, the next second, Ezra Jing's furious voice rang out, Lena Pei, what are you doing? Ezra Jing's heroic rescue was impeccably timed, his tall frame providing strong support for the teetering Mira Liu with a tense expression, he asked carefully, Mira, are you okay? Mira Lou's eyes brimmed with tears as she looked up at him pitifully. Ezra, my stomach hurts so much, that drawn-out, melodramatic tone sent shivers down my spine. I'll take you to the hospital. Ezra Jing, oozing with boyfriend energy, scooped her up in a grand princess carry before leaving. He even made sure to throw a threatening remark my way, Lena Pei. You breached the contract first. If anything happens to Mira, I'll hold you accountable. Screw your damn contract. Li Duo rolled his eyes dramatically. Did they just get discharged from the hospital? I couldn't agree more. In low spirits, under Li Duo's disappointed gaze, I waved and said goodbye to him, returning home unexpectedly. In the middle of the night, the whole family was neatly gathered, waiting for me. What's the occasion? I must be really important today, I joked playfully, reaching out to take the hot soup handed to me by the nanny. My eldest sister barely lifted her eyelids, her tone full of authority as she spoke. Where have you been fooling around again? In front of my family? I'm just a carefree and unrestrained rogue, always joking around and never serious. Where else could I go? None of you were willing to grace Su Tai's birthday party with your presence, so I went as the family representative to show my face. The Su family still deserves your personal attention. My eldest sister scoffed. More likely, you were chasing after Ezra Jing. I shrugged helplessly. I honestly didn't know he'd be there. My mother is a gentle beauty, her slender brows slightly furrowed as she softly asked, Lena, tell me honestly, what are your true feelings about Ezra Jing? No feelings, just a regular fiancé, but he's already had a child with another woman. Mother's voice was full of hesitation. They sure are well informed. I scratch my head. Well, I'm used to it. The Pei family's bunch of hopeless romantics just can't comprehend my views on marriage and relationships. I think it's necessary to be more blunt. Dad, Mom, I really don't mind. I'll never have children for Ezra Jing. Oh wait, I never planned to have any in this lifetime. But if Ezra Jing wants an heir, why not let him choose someone he actually likes? Saves trouble and hassle. I know my ideas are hard for the public to accept, but there's no helping it. I just love doing things this way. I don't love Ezra Jing, and he doesn't love me, but coincidentally, our marriage would bring enormous benefits, and these benefits happen to be exactly what we both crave. Seen this way, we're a match made in heaven. Mom sighs in frustration. Her thinking is, if I'm not so madly in love with Ezra Jing that I've lost my senses, why won't I just call off the engagement? You've grown up, and it's good to have your own thoughts. Dad finally spoke, his voice steady and firm. But I hope you can distinguish what is more important in your heart. I nodded obediently. I know my limits. What's important, I don't know, but it certainly can't be love and marriage. After much persuasion, I finally managed to convince them to go back to their room and rest. I drank the hangover soup and sat in the living room for a while. After going through the pile of unread messages, I finally decided to go back to my room to sleep. I walked quietly down the hallway, heading toward the room at the far end of the third floor. Unexpectedly, as I passed by one of the rooms, I heard a faint creaking sound. I turned my head and saw my eldest sister standing there in a bathrobe, staring at me with an inscrutable gaze. I blinked my eyes and obediently called out, Sis, aren't you going to sleep yet? Elder sister silently stared at me for a long time, staring so intently that my scalp tingled. My mind raced through all the foolish things I'd done in the past month like a storm. Nothing too outrageous, though. Where had I offended this great demon lord again? I was puzzled but didn't dare speak up. Fearless against all else since childhood, I always turned into a coward whenever facing elder sister, Lena Pei. The elder sister's voice was slightly hoarse, her tone very solemn. I immediately straightened up, standing tall. Go ahead, I said. I don't believe I'm so useless that my younger sister needs to enter a political marriage to uphold the Pei family. I don't need any of you to make sacrifices for me or for the Pei family. That would only prove my incompetence. I let out a sigh of relief. What a trivial matter, I said cheerfully. To me, this isn't a sacrifice. I know you can't understand, but in my eyes, marriage itself is an exchangeable value. I'm trading something I consider worthless for an immeasurable future that has nothing to do with sacrifice. My eldest sister frowned deeply. Do you really not love Ezra Jing? I tilted my head and smirked mischievously. Rather than loving him, I'd say I love the identity of the Jing heir. My fiancé is called the Jing heir, and in the future, my husband should be the one who holds power in the Jing family. Why? The eldest sister gradually calmed down, but she was still puzzled. I met her gaze without flinching. Sis, my marriage, just like your freedom, is only worthy of being a stepping stone to success. The eldest sister and I locked eyes for a long time before she finally sighed in defeat. Between sisters, I don't want to say thank you. She patted my shoulder, wishing you success. I curled the corner of my lips. Wish me success. My career must also flourish. Marrying into the Jing family will help the Pei family take a big leap forward, which was originally my goal. Compared to this, everything else seems insignificant, but it seems that some people can't stand to see me succeed easily. I gazed coldly at the trending search term marked with the word hot, Huaqi's 3 heiresses' private lives. Multiple men and 1 woman. I let out a cold laugh and clicked only to find a collection of speculative photos. The so-called multiple men and 1 woman were merely photos of me entering and exiting various high-end venues with different toys, including Li Duo from that day. The camera angles are all deliberately suggestive, making it look like either passionate kissing or flirting, and the phrase multiple men with 1 woman is clearly ambiguous. My expression turned cold as I scrolled through the comments section. Money sure is great, men are like clothes, changed at will. Am I here to see this multiple men with 1 woman? Don't the insiders know what we want to see? Give us something more explosive or we'll demand this trend be taken down. The chairman of Huaqi had always built up the image of a devoted husband, and the young CEO Pei also marketed himself as the strict husband in charge. Who would have thought the family's black sheep would turn out to be here? Laughing so hard, I just remembered that trending topic from before. Romantics are born in wealthy families. The second son of Huaqi also had a mistress he was obsessed with, and some people dragged the entire Pei family into it. Now the third daughter is slapping back hard with receipts. This private life is next level chaotic. Look at the timestamps in the bottom left corner. The shortest interval is just 5 hours. The use and discard approach is way too obvious. Gotta say, the third princess has quite diverse tastes. Each of them is uniquely handsome in their own way. I heard Huaqi is engaged to the young master of the Jing family. Does this count as blatant cheating? Upstairs, spill the tea. What engagement? Which Jing family's young master? Tell us now. I pressed my fingers against my forehead and rubbed hard. Though it was just ordinary gossip, the public sentiment wasn't favorable. I quickly called my elder sister to discuss removing the trending topic, ensuring Huaqi's stock market performance and reputation wouldn't be affected by this matter. The phone had barely been hung up when a new message popped in through the top window. I clicked it open, my eyes dark as I read every word. Bang! The phone shattered into pieces. I pressed my finger against the center of my forehead, lowering my voice with a cold laugh. Mira Liu truly has no regard for her own life, and as for those backing her, I refuse to believe that without someone fanning the flames, a minor internet celebrity like her could have the audacity to push me onto the trending list. None of these people will escape unscathed. Crash, glass shattered, thick liquor spreading across the floor. I looked down coldly at Ezra Jing. Have I been too lenient with you lately, daring to scheme against me? Ezra Jing's face was haggard. He clutched his hair uncontrollably, ignoring the bleeding wound on his forehead as the blood trickled down. It wasn't me, he rasped. It was that bastard. My father acknowledged him and brought him home. Oh, I sneered. Ezra Jing, have you really become so useless that you can't even deal with a bastard now? I had never met the Jing family's bastard before, but Ezra Jing and I were engaged. It was clear the bastard was targeting Ezra, and I was just collateral damage. Ezra Jing remained silent. The Jing family had been in turmoil recently, and Mira Liu had been causing repeated scenes. Neither his career nor his personal life was going smoothly. My father dotes on him and has given him plenty of resources and connections, which has inflated his ambitions. He's doing this to sabotage our arranged marriage and clip my wings, or rather, he wants to take my place. Ezra Jing finally spoke, his gaze cold and steady as he met my eyes. What does that have to do with me? Ezra Jing, you need to understand, I, Lena Pei, am not marrying you, but the heir of the Jing family. In other words, the engagement will proceed as scheduled. Before that, whoever has the capability to secure the heir's position will be my groom, and afterward, Huaqi will naturally step in to help him sweep away all obstacles. I coldly revealed the truth, seeing no surprise in Ezra Jing's eyes. From the very beginning, we both understood that this marriage was purely an exchange of interests, devoid of any genuine affection. Before leaving, I glanced back at Ezra Jing one last time. In the dim corner of the sofa, his jaw was clenched, and crimson blood dripped down the side of his face. adding a touch of ferocity. I offered a piece of well-intentioned advice. Ezra Jing. Don't tell me you've held on to your position as the Jing family heir for the past 27 years simply because your father didn't have a second child. If you're soft-hearted, just quit this game. I promise I won't laugh at you. I'm not sure how much truth there is in Ezra Jing's words, but my goal has already been achieved, no matter who the hidden instigator is. As long as his last name is Jing, it's not convenient for me to personally step in and teach him a lesson. Let them fight among themselves, battling it out to the death. It saves me the effort. And I can even secretly stir the pot without worrying about earning anyone's resentment. A faint smile curled at the corners of my lips as I finalized my plans in my mind. No one understood the weight of those words better than I did. After today, the battle between Ezra Jing and his illegitimate brother would officially begin. Maximizing gains, that was where my true expertise lay. To let my fiancé focus on the internal power struggle and settle the score. I'll take care of that little flea Mira Lu myself. I've always been a considerate fiancé. Ezra Jing has been protecting Mira Lu quite well. It took me quite some effort to get first-hand information about her. Tianza Bay, every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. Ezra Jing is truly generous with his spending. I casually flipped through the materials and let out a disdainful scoff. Chen Zhou sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, an unlit cigarette dangling from his lips as he spoke indistinctly. How did this little internet celebrity manage to offend you? Is it really worth the effort to personally go after her? With just a glance from you, Miss Pei, plenty would be willing to go through fire and water just to amuse you. Bored out of my mind, and incidentally checking out Ezra Jing's taste, I don't want to end up in a marriage alliance with someone who's short-sighted. Chen Zhou chuckled. The first part is the real truth, isn't it? Didn't you take over the semiconductor chip chain from your sister at Huachi? That thing is now one of Huachi's major projects. Your sister trusted you enough to hand it over completely, and here you are claiming you're just bored. I picked up a pen and threw it. Who asked you to teach me how to do things? It's rare to find some fun to lift my spirits, and now I have to be lectured, ruining my mood. Chen Zhou chuckled and raised his hands in surrender. All right, my bad, I'll make it up to you. Whatever the young mistress commands, this servant is at your disposal. The corners of my lips curled up as I spoke with ill intent. Mira Lu cares so much about her image, doesn't she? The goddess of classical dance, the refined lady from an intellectual family, the beloved darling of her mysterious wealthy boyfriend. These labels are so glamorous. I'd love to give her a unique surprise. Chen Zhou shuddered violently and clicked his tongue. The way you're smiling right now is downright chilling. The hot search is trending again. The inside story of the wealthy family's dance troupe, the rise of the dancers. Clicking into the homepage reveals a high-definition video. Several women with stunning figures and extraordinary beauty are dancing with enchanting grace on stage, smiling radiantly, while not overly revealing. Their performance is undeniably alluring and captivating. The camera shifts slightly, the image somewhat blurry, but sharp-eyed viewers can still make out a few audience members in the video. It didn't take long for people to match the faces, only to realize they were all familiar tycoons from the rich list. OMG, this is explosive. Is this the extravagant life of the wealthy? I'd be willing to live like this for just one day. Luxury cars, mansions, I'd take it all. How bold. Who leaked this to the trending list? Our CEO Wang is furious. Why hasn't the platform taken it down yet? You linked the wrong post. Do you want to taste CEO Wang's special fried squid? I just skimmed through a certain list and recognized several faces. Oh my god, who dares to expose these people? Where's your focus? I'm the only one curious about that dancer's rise to fame, right? Who's this even about? I know, I just read a 20-page PDF. Here's the summary. A certain dancer caught the eye of a wealthy heir, who personally asked for her from someone else, then kept her as a mistress. Here's the kicker. Rumor has it, it's some shady, under-the-table relationship. Upstairs. I think I know who it is. Took a few bites of the gossip. Is it that loser-name internet celebrity? Oh, I know her. Isn't her video location tagged as Tianza Bay? The comments are all like respected Tianza Bay homeowner. And isn't she in a great relationship with her wealthy boyfriend? He even speaks in her live streams sometimes. Stop kidding yourself. Isn't the video clear enough? A quick glance at the face is all it takes to tell who's who. If she were really a Tianza Bay homeowner, would she be here performing seductive dances for others? With one hand, I tapped the desk with curved fingers while scrolling through the comments with the other. Manipulating public opinion is child's play. Just Drop a few comments with a mix of truth and lies, and the internet will fill in the rest effortlessly. If Mira Liu had obediently stayed as Ezra Zhang's little mistress without coming to irritate me, I wouldn't have minded him keeping her until she died. Unfortunately, she overstepped her bounds. I wouldn't have cared if she just dreamed of climbing the social ladder. I might even have enjoyed amusing myself by toying with her to pass the time, but scheming against me is one thing, affecting the Pei family because of it is entirely another. Everything about the Pei family, whether it's my parents, siblings, or Hua Qi, is my, Lena Pei's, inviolable bottom line. Anyone who dares to touch them must be prepared to pay a devastating price. My fingers, which had been tapping on the desk, paused. After a moment's thought, I clicked into the video platform, and sure enough, Mira Liu had started a livestream. That makes sense. The impact was too significant, even if she wasn't in a hurry. The MCN agency behind her must be anxious by now. Mira Liu had applied light makeup, presenting an ethereal and aloof image, completely different from the radiant and bold look I had seen that day. She gracefully tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her voice cool and composed. It's just AI video synthesis. The suggestive comments in the section clearly show someone is out to get me. Today, I'm just making a statement to everyone. This is something I, Mira Liu, would never stoop to do. My family is well off, and my boyfriend and I are a perfect match. Why would I degrade myself? This matter ends here. Don't discuss it in my comment section anymore. As for the mastermind behind this, my boyfriend has decided to send a legal warning. He will pay the price for his actions. Let it be known that spreading rumors isn't cost-free. I couldn't help but laugh. Even now, she's still putting on airs, not showing a hint of urgency. Has she not seen the latest trending topic? Industry experts have already confirmed the video isn't deepfake or synthesized. It's genuine footage. As for Ezra Zhang, he's currently dealing with serious troubles at home and has no energy to care about his little mistress's situation. The illegitimate child of the Zhang family is essentially worthless and can't amount to anything. His meager capabilities are completely insignificant among the wealthy second generation in Haicheng, let alone compared to the heir meticulously groomed by the Zhang family for 27 years. Unfortunately, that illegitimate child is the son of Ezra Zhang's father's first love. With the first love deceased, the only remaining offspring naturally enjoys the favor of Chairman Zhang. With such bias from the chairman, Ezra Zhang clearly struggles in dealing with the illegitimate child. Reading the SOS message sent by someone, I let out a cold laugh, asking for help but refusing to humble yourself. Clearly, the problem isn't that serious, might as well solve it yourself. Humming a tune, I turned off the livestream and dutifully got back to work. As for the fate of irrelevant people, who gives a damn? Thanks to the expert analysis from industry veterans, Mira Liu's clarification livestream seemed to have no effect at all. I heard she went to seek help from Ezra Zhang, but didn't even get to see his face. How dire is Ezra Zhang's current situation? Without the support of marriage, he was actually willing to transfer part of his assets to my name to cut his losses. Both laughable and pathetic. He still has cards and chips to turn the tables. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly be unaware that once he loses, I would take the assets he transferred and marry his dear brother Xing Qiao. I'm actually inclined to believe that he's biding his time. After all, Mr. Xing has been at the helm of the Xing family for decades. Even though Ezra Xing is the acknowledged heir, in the end, it's just a title of successor. However, what I didn't expect was that Mira Liu would actually collaborate with Xing Qiao. She was invited to participate in another variety show, where she appeared gentle and dignified, displaying extraordinary generosity, with every piece of her casual wear exuding top-tier luxury. For a while, the internet was flooded with whitewashing posts. Has Mira Liu gone crazy? Or is it Ezra Zhang? Or maybe I'm the one who's lost it? How on earth did these two end up together? Are you sure Mira Liu is carrying Ezra Zhang's child and not Ezra Zhang's? Qin Zhou was shouting excitedly in my ear. He couldn't wrap his head around how these two, who were not only unrelated but practically enemies, could end up collaborating. Two idiots, I muttered under my breath. Mira Liu just wants to mess with me and boost her own status to match the title of Mrs. Zhang. As for anything else, her brain probably isn't big enough to handle it. It seems she's certain Ezra Zhang can't do without her, daring to act so outrageously. Qin Zhou shook his head inwardly, thinking Ezra Zhang's downfall lies in the classic trap of a hero succumbing to a beauty. Certain. I think she's bought into Xing Qiao's nonsense about brothers having no lasting grudges, believing that pleasing Xing Qiao will make the Xing family more accepting of her. Qin Zhou was shocked, muttering in disbelief, "No way, Could someone really be that foolish? I gave him a sidelong glance. Why not? Xing Qiao is equally idiotic, thinking that getting close to Mira Lu will help him extract information about Ezra. Xing, he'd be better off trying to win me over. I might even help him secure the title of Xing family heir. Chen Zhou's lips twitched slightly. Wouldn't Ezra Xing come fight you to the death? He'd bite you to death if he had to. Am I afraid of him? He's a pig-brained idiot too. Damn it. Just thinking about having to deal with a whole family of Xing pigbrains in the future makes me sick. Rarely did I disregard etiquette and manners to start cursing, but the current chaos of the situation had me so agitated that for a moment I didn't even know which mess to wade into and stir up. Lena Pei, I can't quite figure you out right now. Do you want to mess with Mira Lu, or Ezra Xing, or are you helping Ezra Xing mess with Xing Qiao? I want to crush them all. My tone was so irritable that it startled Chen Zhou. After a short while, I finally calmed down, soothing the violent emotions brought on by my intolerance for stupidity. No matter how much Hua Qi and the Xing family collaborate, they can never truly merge into one. Naturally, I hope the waters in the Xing family grow murkier by the day. Having regained my composure, I analyzed the situation for Chen Zhou. Marriage means taking a definitive side. I can't very well team up with outsiders against my own husband, but as long as I hold the title of fiancé, no one can tell me what I can or can't do. Chen Zhou's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Ezra Xing marrying you is truly like gambling. One wrong move and he could lose everything. But didn't he still beg to marry me? The corner of my lips curled slightly. Do you really think he has a choice? While the two Xing brothers were busy scheming against each other, it conveniently left Mira Lu free to come and stir up trouble for me. Her belly was only slightly rounded, yet she deliberately arched her back and stroked it with an exaggerated, affected posture, as if she were about to give birth any moment. Lena Pei, you were the one behind that trending hashtag before, weren't you? She declared confidently. Where's your proof? Making accusations without evidence is slander. Mira Lu snorted coldly. Young Master Xing already told me everything. Don't even think about denying it. Lena Pei, all that talk about not loving Ezra is just you fooling yourself. But too bad, Ezra loves me and our baby the most. You'll always be an outsider in this lifetime. Twirling a strand of my hair, I blinked at her and said, oh really, what a shame then. You'll never get to see Ezra in his groom's suit at the wedding in this lifetime. Mira Lu's expression twisted for a moment. The engagement between me and Ezra Xing was the hardest thorn lodged in her heart. Even though Ezra Xing had made countless promises, it still stuck in her throat like a fishbone. Lena Pei, just you wait. Ezra said he wouldn't let my child be nameless and unrecognized. I can't wait to see the look on your face when the esteemed third daughter of Hua Qi becomes a discarded, resentful woman. You actually believe a man's words. It's just a trick to placate you. As a fellow woman, I truly feel pity and sorrow for you. Lena Pei, Ezra and I share a bond stronger than gold. Don't even think about driving a wedge between us. I smiled faintly without a word, lowering my head to take a sip of tea. Just now, Mira Lu stumbled unsteadily for 2 steps before regaining her balance, and her belly twitched. I was genuinely afraid that a few careless words might provoke her into miscarrying on the spot. If Ezra Xing lost his heir because of this, would he demand I bear him another? That would be a classic case of cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. I tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear and stepped past her in my high heels, then turned to wave at the salesperson who had been keeping a discreet distance. Wrap up what I just tried on and have it delivered to this address. The salesperson immediately beamed. Of course, Miss Pei, your total today comes to 7,673,000 yuan. Mira Lu was grinding her teeth in frustration. Ezra Xing only gave her a measly 500,000 a month for pocket money, yet here she was, watching the person she despised the most casually swipe her card for over 7 million on 2 worthless stones without batting an eye. Her heart burned with both hatred and envy. If she became the young mistress of the Xing family, would she too be able to swipe her card without hesitation? Throwing around millions like Lena Pei, I glanced at the unwilling Mira Lu and disdainfully averted my gaze. Even without me, Lena Pei, the entire Xing family would have to have their heads trampled by pigs to allow Mira Lu to marry in. The Pei family is considered the most humane among the upper class, having at least produced a few romantics. I can only be considered an exception, but the Xing family is entirely bound by interests. None of them have a heart. Expecting the Xing family to allow a Cinderella to marry in is less realistic than hoping for the god of wealth to rain gold. However, Mira Lu loves to dream, and who can stop her? Kidnapped, and what's more, kidnapped together with Mira Lu. I let out a soft hiss, the back of my head aching. Someone had struck me from behind as soon as I entered the parking lot, completely catching me off guard. I struggled slightly and found myself tightly bound with hemp ropes, unable to break free. Turning my head, I saw the terrified face of Mira Lu. What's going on? How did I end up here? Lena Pei, you bitch, was it you who did this to me? I rolled my eyes dramatically. Come on, lady, I'm tied up too. Use that pea-sized brain of yours to think for once, will you? Shut up, a hoarse voice, like an old bellows, growled. A burly man with a thick beard and bushy eyebrows suddenly appeared from nowhere, a cigarette dangling from his mouth. He kicked both me and Mira Lu. Damn bitch, stop yapping. The kidnapper spat and plopped down cross-legged on the ground nearby. Mira Lu, who was pregnant, was kicked and slammed into the wall, letting out a sharp cry. I frowned and calmly asked, how much do you want? I may be short on money, but I don't want yours. The kidnapper sneered coldly, his tone vicious. Just stay put, you bitch. Once Ezra Jing gets here, I'll decide whether to kill or maim. Do you have a grudge against Ezra Jing? He's the one who drove me to the edge. I'm going to make him pay. I know the Jing family isn't short on cash. Threatening him with money wouldn't even faze him. The kidnapper let out a sinister chuckle, sending chills down my spine. For a moment, I couldn't guess what his true motive was. I have nothing to do with Ezra Jing. She is Ezra Jing's woman, his fiancée. The whole of Haicheng knows it. Just take her and let me go. Mira Lu screamed hysterically. The kidnapper grabbed a nearby wrench and slammed it beside her leg, instantly silencing Mira Lu in terror. Shut the hell up, you noisy bitch. You think I don't know about your dirty little affair with Ezra Jing? I came for you. Aren't you carrying his bastard? Let's see how much you're worth to him, whether he'll even bother saving you. I glanced at the sky outside the window, then closed my eyes to block out their shouting, calculating the time in my head. At the same time, I was planning that if the kidnapper wasn't after money, then they must be after my life. I certainly wouldn't dare to entrust my life to Ezra Jing's hands. A few hours later, Ezra Jing appeared on the hillside, peering through the crack in the door of the cramped storeroom. I cursed under my breath at the sight of his shadow, calling him an idiot. He actually came alone. The kidnapper stood up, dusted himself off, and glanced sideways at Ezra Jing with a cigarette dangling from his mouth. You really kept me waiting, you bastard. Ezra Jing gasped for breath, his voice hoarse as he spoke. Where are they? How much do you want? What will it take for you to let them go? The kidnapper remained calm. He nonchalantly pulled out a palm-sized pistol from his waistband. Ezra Jing's hair stood on end in an instant. You're trying to kill me. No, I won't kill you. The kidnapper sneered sinisterly. I want $1 billion. Fine, I can have them transfer it to you right now. Let them go. The kidnapper wagged a finger. No, 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 with $1 billion, you can only save one. Ezra Jing's brow furrowed deeply. You want $2 billion, I can afford it, but you might not be able to handle it. Greed knows no bounds. No, I only want $1 billion, and you can only save one. The kidnapper chuckled, revealing his true intent. You ruined my family, Ezra Jing. Now I want you to experience the same pain firsthand. Alright, it's decision time. Will it be your childhood sweetheart and fiancé, or the mistress carrying your child? Young Master Jing, you have 10 seconds to choose, otherwise, this gun will take 2 lives, 3, counting the unborn child. I closed my eyes. There was no need for hesitation. I already knew what choice Ezra Jing would make. This kind of choice between me and Mira Lu is completely unnecessary. It's not like we're the female lead and the mistress in some tragic drama, where the male lead has to agonize over his decision, how Ezra Jing would choose. All 3 of us know perfectly well how boring. This kidnapper must have watched too many cheesy romance dramas to pull this nonsense. Mira Lu. The moment this name came out, I felt a sense of settling dust and peace. Mad, those who do evil will inevitably bring destruction upon themselves. I'd been cold-hearted and indifferent all my life. Never thought I'd stumble over this. I mocked myself silently. I always thought it was good to have no feelings for Ezra Jing. But now, look at this. He didn't even hesitate to abandon me, his so-called plastic fiancé. The kidnapper burst into laughter, seemingly deranged. Young Master Jing really didn't hesitate, did he? He's already made his decision, and I haven't even started counting yet. Mira Lu, I choose Mira Lu. Don't hurt her. I can give you money, as much as you want. Here's this card. I'll give you 500 million first. Just let me go in and see her. Ezra Jing's anxious and desperate voice felt distant and cold to me. Good, since you've made your choice, that person can be taken away. what a pity though. The other little beauty will have to stay and keep me company for some fun, ha 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 ha, to be able to play with the woman of young Master Jing in this lifetime, I can die without regrets. The kidnapper grabbed me by the hair and lifted me up. I watched calmly and indifferently as Ezra Jing and Mira Lu embraced each other affectionately. Ezra Jing's hands trembled as he untied Mira Lu, carefully picking her up as if handling fine porcelain, whispering soft words of comfort to her. He carried the person past the kidnapper without even glancing at me, the cold muzzle of a pistol pressed against my temple, leaving me frozen in place, helplessly watching as the two of them walked further and further away. Then, heavy breathing sounded right beside my ear. Ezra, will Miss Pei be alright? Mira Lu furrowed her delicate brows, her hand resting on her swollen belly, feigning concern. Ezra Zhang's jaw tightened as he held her hand steadily. I've called the police, it should be fine, she's not important. I'm taking you to the hospital now, you and the baby must not come to any harm. Mira Lu's heart softened, she wrapped her slender arms around Ezra Zhang's neck, leaning against his chest and listening to the unusual rhythm of his heartbeat. Each frantic beat was a testament to his love for her. Ezra Jing truly loved only her. Once Lina Pei was dead and the child was born, she could rightfully become the young mistress of the Jing family in this world. No one would ever compete with her for Ezra again. Mira Lu and Ezra Jing spent several sweet months together, perhaps because they had survived a life-threatening ordeal. Ezra Jing's protectiveness towards her skyrocketed. He practically wanted to tie her to his belt and take her everywhere. Though not officially married, they were more intimate than most couples, living a blissful life while eagerly awaiting the arrival of their love's fruit. On a winter night, New Year's Eve, after 10 months of pregnancy, Mira Lu finally went into labor. Ezra, I'm scared. Ezra Jing gently kissed the corner of her lips to comfort her. Mira, you have to be strong. I'll be waiting outside for you and the baby. We'll welcome the new year together, with our baby. From now on, our family of 3 will be together forever. Tears welled up in Mira Lu's eyes as she nodded, and under Ezra Jing's heartbroken gaze, she was wheeled into the delivery room. Ezra Jing was stopped outside the delivery room and could only sit anxiously on the bench, waiting. Time passed bit by bit, and after what felt like an eternity, the light in the operating room finally changed. He rushed forward in a single stride, his eyes filled with hope as he looked at the doctor. The doctor's gaze was heavy with sorrow, shaking his head regretfully at him. Sir, I'm very sorry. The mother suffered a sudden postpartum hemorrhage after delivering the baby. We did everything we could, but we still couldn't save her. Ezra Jing's lips trembled, pale with shock, as if unable to believe what he had just heard. He staggered back 2 steps, only to break down in uncontrollable sobs upon seeing the frail newborn cradled in the nurse's arms. His voice was mournful and pitiful, visibly filled with despair and helplessness, with an overwhelming emotional intensity that made even bystanders involuntarily empathize with his sorrow. Later, he returned to the delivery room in a daze to pack up Mira Lu's belongings. Click, click, click. I walked in wearing high heels, closed the door, and stared at his hollow gaze before finally letting out a mocking laugh. The Oscars really owe you a little golden statue. What are you doing here? Ezra Jing frowned, clearly displeased. Just here to see how heartless you can be. My sister gave us Luyuan Manor as our new home. Such a huge place. Even if you kept a mistress there, I wouldn't mind. It's rare for young Master Jing to have someone who catches his eye, so how could I not play along? Ezra Jing lowered his gaze, masking his emotions. Too bad she isn't fortunate enough to live in Luyuan. Ha, I scoffed. Well, that's truly unexpected. There's nothing surprising about this. The outcome was sealed the day she partnered with Ezra Jing. Ezra Jing, everyone says I, Lina Pei, am cold-hearted and indifferent to human emotions, but who would have guessed that the seemingly noble and upright young Master Jing is truly the one devoid of affection and righteousness. So, we 2 cold-blooded creatures are a perfect match, aren't we? Ezra Jing said with a half-smile, his earlier sorrow completely gone. Indeed, so, I look forward to seeing my groom dressed to the nines at our wedding a month from now, and not running away again, I said with a radiant smile. Our partnership, this is the end, but also the real beginning. The benefits exchanged through marriage will eventually produce a biggest winner. I'm quite looking forward to seeing who will ultimately emerge victorious in this grand game. Of course, I, Lina Pei, will never lose.